Hello, you're very welcome along to another episode of the Tackling Sport podcast. It's Daniel here, once again joined by my brother Sean.
How's it going?
And champion and reigning champion of Premier League fan predictions. Delighted to welcome Manchester United fan Shane Sexton. Shane, welcome back. Unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, unbelievable, Jeff. Delighted to be back. Just another Wednesday night recording away. I have a pencil down in my diary now at this stage.
It's a full-time gig now. So we've been trying the last 3 weeks to get you beat, but it won't be 4 in a row because delighted to welcome Stephen Duff, and called Big Sam by none other than himself. Stephen, Manchester United fan as well. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm here to take Shane off his perch and hoping to go to 4 weeks in a row myself. I've talked up a big game, so I need to back it up.
Oh, jeez, the thought of that now gives me nightmares altogether. We'll for those that haven't joined us before, it's basically a game we do every week. It's 3 points for a correct score, 1 point for a correct result, and the winner stays on. And obviously, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Shane is going for that elusive, as far as I know, it is elusive 4 in a row. I think 3 is the record by a couple of people. So yeah, we'll get on. We'll get straight into it, lads. So the first game is Burnley versus Arsenal. Now, Shane, you've been a critic of Arsenal, for want of a better term, I guess. You were being proved right, being proved wrong in various games over the last 3 weeks. You mentioned to me, I might have got a sneak preview, that you could possibly go for Arsenal here away to Burnley. So are you going to stick with that? Or
it goes against everything I was brought up against, Dan. It breaks my heart to have to tip them. And Leicester last week, God almighty, they were brutal. Now, I suppose they got hit with some injuries there in that game. And in fairness to Arsenal, they actually played pretty well. Shout out to Willian, he gets a lot of stick from the Arsenal fans. A very toxic fan base, I might add. Very toxic. And Willian is only trying his best. And Burnley as well. Burnley, I keep backing Burnley and tipping them up. And I don't know why I keep doing that. They're sort of losing the run themselves. They're also hit with injuries. I think they're playing tonight, and they're starting with Vidra up front. But even he's managed to get himself a goal. Fair play to him. But Arsenal, I suppose Arsenal win. I'm gonna go for them. I'll go for sort of a tough to watch game. I'd say I'd go 1-0 Arsenal. We'll put Saka down as a scorer.
Brilliant. Listen, that's a good start for Arsenal fans. Stephen, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm all in on Shane. What he's backing on this. Like, I've been one of the biggest critics of Arsenal. I live with an Arsenal guy here who is a housemate of mine, and it's been putrid to watch at times. And it's actually been the most entertainment to watch because you can just laugh at Arsenal fans and their terror of the past couple of months. But I think Burnley are just struggling so much. I think Brady and Berg are back to midweek, so they might be back at the weekend, but I don't think they're going to add a huge amount. Arsenal 2-0 and Aubameyang to score first.
Sean, a nice positive couple of scorelines for Arsenal. I guess the Leicester City performance was quite good.
Yeah, I also think Burnley have kind of, like Shane said, gone off the boil a little bit in recent weeks, and I kind of fancy them tonight against Leicester, and obviously we'll find out what happened. But more you watch Burnley at the minute, it just seems like they're just kind of running on empty. I feel like they're probably a couple of players short of maybe adding something in there. I know they tried to get a few players in January, didn't quite happen with the new owners. But it's always a difficult game going away to Turf Moor, and Arsenal off the back of a couple of good wins, and I'm sure they'll be looking to add to it. And I think the benefit for Arsenal is to have the week off. Burnley have a game during the week, so I'm sure those few days off will be a benefit to Arsenal. And I'd expect a tough game to watch. I think a little bit like the lads have said, but I think Arsenal should come out.
Yeah, absolutely. Something you mentioned there, we're recording this on Wednesday evening, just the way it is. So we're kind of like half time in the early games here. It's hard to know, but moving on to another game that's on at the moment, Sean, I might just stick with you. Sheffield United currently 1-0 up against Villa half time, which would be great now to see how this ends up. But they're at home to Southampton. Could they do a 2 home wins in a row kind of thing, or are they completely out of it?
I think they'll be buoyed by the fact that Southampton need to win. Southampton desperately need a win. I saw Matt Letizier's tweet that could you be relegated? Has any team ever been relegated after being top in November? And he said, ask him for a friend. So the R word is definitely in with Southampton, because they've fallen by the wayside there. They've been really poor. I thought they were really poor at Goodison Park. I know they kind of huffed in the last 10 minutes, but you'd expect that. And Everton were really poor themselves. It was a really poor game. But again, Southampton just can't find a way of winning games. Thought they were pretty good in the first 25, 30 minutes at Ellen Road, and they don't get a goal. They're unlucky with a short free kick that the referee blows up. Could have had a penalty disallowed. It is one of them at the minute. Southampton need a win. I think it's a perfect game for Sheffield United, because they need Southampton to really come at them and try and cause a bit of an upset. And then you win a couple of games and the season doesn't seem as bad, and you're just dragging more and more people into the race. Because I think if Southampton keep going the way they are, I mean, they're in a real relegation zone, and I'd imagine it's not easy to shift from the mindset of top 8, top 10, then they want the top 6, to now thinking your season is kind of ruined, and all of a sudden it's in free for all, and there'll be guys in that dressing room talking about relegation. And I think they wouldn't be far off it if it continues as bad as it's been. But I mean, if they win this game, I think they're pretty much safe.
Yeah, they kind of need to win it easy and early enough now in the next couple of weeks to kind of help themselves stay clear of that. Stephen, I'll go to you for this. I guess the worry for Southampton, as Sean touched on there, is like they were top of the league in November. They all of a sudden you keep losing games. Like you don't know where you're going to end up.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think it's what, 7 games losing the streak, 7 games without a win. Anyway, whatever. It's just a stop the rot situation that they're in now. They need to stop it quick. They're in free fall. Like Hassan Hootel was being tipped as one of the next up and coming managers in the league, and now we're talking about them getting relegated. And I know they were torn asunder by injuries and that, but we're seriously sitting here considering giving Sheffield United the result. If they were to go win tonight, I think they would be favourites probably going into the game against Southampton. They'll be buoyed by that result. They'll be buoyed by a good performance. And if Sheffield United, did they get a win the last day out or 2 weeks ago as well? That they would have a much better form record than Southampton going into the game. It's a relegation 6-pointer written all over it. Probably be horrific to watch, and no one will want to lose the game. But I think Sheffield United might just sneak it. It really depends on tonight. I think if they can get a result against Villa tonight, I think they go into it as favourites to be buoyed. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say they will get the result tonight and they will win at the weekend. And I'll give it to them 1-0 and McGoldrick to score again.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think they did that, Sean. Then they beat Newcastle, and then they've kind of lost their last 3 or 4. So I think the Villa game is kind of crucial to this game, Shane, and it's kind of hard being in the dark with it. But how do you see this game going against Saints, as we mentioned, in free fall?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for Southampton is just not to lose this game. They need somewhat of just, even if it's a point, if it's a draw, like that's a little bit more positive than the recent form. I can see it, as Stephen said, it's going to be a bit dire. It could be very cagey at times. I could see it being sort of a goalless draw. Southampton just not wanting to really lose, and I don't think Sheffield United have too much quality. So yeah, for me, it'll be 0-0 4.
Yeah, all very interesting. So we'll move on. It just doesn't sound a very exciting game, lads. 1 goal between 4 opportunities to give a team a goal there. We're going to go to Aston Villa Wolves and maybe stick with you, Shane, with this one. We were watching the Man City Wolves game together. I know the scoreline finished 4-1, but Wolves were very defensible in the first half. And it was, as mentioned, Stephen, before he came on air, it was probably one of the worst games or one half of football in a long time. But the second half, Wolves kind of really stuck it up to City there, and they could have got a result there for a while.
Yeah, Wolves were really frustrating, I think, in the first half. They just real lack of quality. I know obviously City are so good at pressing when they lose the ball, and they don't make it easy for the opposition team. But especially the likes of Neves in the first half, who you think would be able to get his foot on the ball and spray out a few passes. They were just really, really sloppy. But in fairness to them, they only kept it to 1 in the first half, and they came out in the second half and they looked a bit brighter. And 4-1 in the end was actually pretty harsh on them. They did well enough. And Wolves, they're in really good form, and you'd fear for Villa with Grealish being out, still not playing tonight. Whether he'll be back for the weekend or not remains to be seen. So I'd actually sort of keep the faith here with Wolves. I'd go for a 2-1 win, away win for Wolves. I think they can keep up their good form and nick a result here.
Stephen, do you agree?
I think this will be a really good game. I think there's going to be it's a derby, isn't it? The Wolverhampton's just outside Birmingham, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah, especially with Birmingham out of the Premier League as well. Obviously, it's probably as big a derby.
Yeah, it's as big as a derby that area is going to have. I was listening to Sky Sports earlier on, and Dean Smith said that they're hoping to get Jack Grealish on the field tomorrow for training. And I think if he was anyway fit and they lose tonight to Sheffield United, I think he could be fast-tracked into the team to try get results back on track. Without Jack Grealish, they'll struggle. I think Wolves did play pretty well last night in the second half. Result, I'll probably go. I'm going to go Villa, and I'm going to go 2-1, the opposite of Shane. And I will give the goal to El Ghazi.
I love when people just kind of unprompted give a further prediction to, give the final nail in their coffin when the prediction's completely wrong. But that's good content going completely against each other, Stephen. You're kind of learning the ropes nice and quickly here, which is brilliant. Sean, quick word on this. Just looking at the Villa team here starting tonight. It's very weak, isn't it, Sean? Like their squad's under massive pressure.
Well, it's a lot better than it was last year, though. That's obviously something that they've invested. Their recruitment's been quite good. It's one of them. I think that the last game, the last time they played each other was the Mike Dean show. I think he gave 2 red cards, about 7 or 8 yellows, a couple of penalties. It was a 0-0 draw at Molineux, and I don't think it'll be far wide off the mark. I'd say if you gave both managers a 0-0 draw, to be honest, they'd probably take it, especially Villa without without Jack Grealish. I don't know. It's hard to. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of watching Wolves sometimes. Sometimes I just think they're everything that's kind of a bit awry with modern football when you've 7 or 8 Portuguese players because of a super agent playing for them. Sometimes you can just get me a bit wound up watching them. And it was kind of like that watching them last night, because the first half was horrendous. It was really poor. Man City.
What do you think of that kind of setup they had in the first half? It was just like they had no attempt to. We've had this kind of discussion on Newcastle before, but Wolves had more quality than a Newcastle team too.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been Nuno's real thing this year, is to get to half time, which is kind of bizarre. I mean, they did it at Ellen Road. I think they won 1-0 or 2-0. It was effective on a Monday Night Football near the start of the season. And ever since then, I haven't really enjoyed kind of watching them this year. I mean, they're not even effective really at what they do. It's not like you could watch Burnley and they put men behind the ball, but it's very effective. Everyone knows their roles. It's, you can tell it's drilled into them. And at the moment, I think Wolves are just they're just floating without Raul Jimenez. I think they just kind of want to survive again, not survive this year, but just keep plodding along, get some games into the likes of Fabio Silva and Hoover. But yeah, at times I find it difficult to watch Wolves, especially this year. I think they're kind of a team as well that kind of they kind of need fans to play well, because someone like Adama Traore, now you watch him, he's quite indecisive at times, whereas when he's got a full house there, fans are telling him to run, or if he's at away grounds, everyone in the crowd is watching for when he gets the ball. But it's just a bit dreary at the moment with Wolves. But I don't think this game is going to be a great game, if I'm honest. Hopefully it is. Hopefully it's a 3-2.
Duff, I presume you're a Traore fan, are you? He'd be right up your street.
Yeah, pacey like myself.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, I knew. I actually saw a stat last night on Adama Traore, and it was really surprising. He hasn't 0 goals, 0 assists this season, and 60% of his career goals have come against Manchester City. So all he had actually him to score first last night. I was like, it's just written in the stars that he's going to score, and I lost money.
Good job you didn't tell us that beforehand, because we definitely
here, Paddy Power, take my money. But yeah, look, he's struggling this year. But yeah, I reckon 1-on-1 I beat him in a 100-meter race, easy, hands down.
Absolutely. Yeah, we won't question that and we'll move on. We'll stick with you, Stephen. Brighton versus Leicester City. I'd love to actually get your take on that. I presume you were watching, because nothing else to be doing on a Monday Night Football. Maybe was it 2 weeks ago now at this stage, the Brighton versus Crystal Palace game when Palace scored last minute. What do you make of Brighton overall? Like they kind of went, and I know Sean gave them a West Brom a squeak to beat them at the weekend, and they did. Like they're just I don't know what they're doing. They just can't put the ball in the net, really.
No, they can't. And did you see that XG table that they have versus the predicted table? And going on XG on goals predicted per game, Brighton are actually third in the league, and that's just how they have been unable to, and they've been unable to convert their chances. And like, I think they're 5 games unbeaten, but they've still only scored 6 goals. So they're not exactly in a great place. But look, Graham Potter gets a lot of credit for what he's doing, but they're still teetering around the relegation zone. I don't know, like the Amex, they're not, their record at the Amex is poor. I'm not their biggest fans, to be honest. Despite actually having a jersey hanging up in my bedroom, I have a Brighton jersey.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
yeah. I thought that you were there. I got that day. With, I think it's Bong on the back of it. Their 37-year-old left back. But like Leicester aren't in great form. When they've been missing Maddison, they've been really poor. I still think they'll beat Brighton handy enough. You'd have to say 2-0 win Leicester. I think it'd be a good game. And I think there'd be a lot of chances, but I think just Brighton's inability to actually get over the line is just going to come against them again.
Yeah, Shane, we've spoken a lot about Brighton over the last 3 weeks. What did you make of them?
I know. My heart goes out to Brighton. I think Brighton are going to get a point here. Like they're due something. The universe has to give them something. Yeah, missing 2 penalties against West Brom, and having the VAR decision against them. Like something good has to come up for them, especially with Leicester. Like they against Arsenal, they really missed Maddison. And Harvey Barnes coming off on a stretcher. Evans is missing. Perez is missing. Obviously, Justin James has got a long-term knee injury. So Leicester, they have quite a depleted squad at the moment. And I reckon Brighton will get a point off them. So I'm going for 1-1, and big Lewis Dunk is going to score from a header. No, from a free kick.
Quick. Yeah, Sean, you've been kind of critical of Brighton, possibly harshly, I guess you could potentially say, if, Stevens, the expected goals. And I know you can go down a serious rabbit hole with expected goals, but they have been unlucky the last few weeks. Surely, like West Brom Palace, if they play those games 10 times, they're going to get 6 points out of those games, aren't they?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't blame what Graham Potter's done. I think it's obviously very successful. He's had good runs with obviously the clubs he's been at before, and he's kind of found a home at Brighton where this is kind of a long-term thing for him. I kind of saw that result coming a mile away, the West Brom one. It's just one of those games where a team's kind of in an unbelievable run of bad form. West Brom have been slowly improving, and kind of a Big Sam sort of typical win. I thought West Brom were full value for it as well at times. The way they defended, the way they actually played, Maitland-Niles should have scored. And then obviously the penalty issues. I mean, you can't bargain for missing one penalty, never mind 2. But yeah, I kind of worry at times about Brighton. I don't know. I just don't know what it is with that. There's obviously a real lack of confidence in a goal scoring position. But we knew this a couple of months ago. We knew this before January, and there was you didn't even hear them really going to get a striker. And as a result, they're going to be in a massive relegation battle. But I do think they could pick up points here against Leicester. I think Leicester are a completely different team without Maddison. Never mind Harvey Barnes, who, as Shane said, is ruled out for a good few weeks. And Vardy, I mean, he'll have played Saturday midweek, and then next weekend as well, and heat the Europa League game. So there's games being played a lot with Vardy. So they'll need Iheanacho to obviously play, and it was good that he scored tonight.
Yeah, Stephen, stick with you then, because I know we touched on West Brom there. Sell us the Big Sam dream. Is he going to keep them in the league? As a Big Sam man yourself, go on, sell us and the listeners the dream there. West Brom versus Newcastle.
As you know, Dan, I am Big Sam's biggest fan. I drink biscuit gravy for breakfast if I could. On a gold chain, a shirt that's 3 buttons open, and a big hairy chest player. Now, I'm Big Sam's biggest fan, but it just doesn't look like he's going to be able to save him. The quality isn't there in West Brom. When you watch him, you're kind of urging him to just do something, that bit of a spark, bit of creativity, and it's just not coming. It's a poor Big Sam team. But if they want to have any chance of surviving, they're going to have to get a result at the weekend. If they were to get one more good result, positive result, it really blows that relegation battle right open. Like if we're looking at, say, Newcastle lose, possibly Brighton lose, Sheffield United get a win and Southampton lose, like it makes for a brilliant run into the season at the bottom end of the table. And we know West Brom or Big Sam can pull off big results when he wants to. When it really gets going, he knows how to find a result. And you're looking at Brucey's form there with Newcastle. He's seriously struggling. There's probably a bit more quality in the Newcastle squad compared to the West Brom squad. But it being at home for West Brom, it's a 0-0 written all over it. But I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say 1-0 West Brom. And I think it's just going to make for a really entertaining run-in for the relegation list.
Yeah, because Shane, like there, as Stephen touched on there, I think it's 9 points between West Brom and Newcastle. So like, the definition of a relegation 6-pointer, and I guess if they do win, the great escape is on. You could argue.
Exactly. I think Stephen had the right result there, and then changed his mind last minute. This looks like a 0-0 to me. I think for like if you put both teams on paper, I think Newcastle are missing Almiron and St. Maximin, and obviously they've been missing Wilson for a few weeks. So if Almiron and St. Maximin don't start, you put the two lineups together, I'd say would be probably the worst quality game of the season so far, and probably will be the worst quality game of the whole season. In saying that, you never know. It might be a trio, might be a barn burner, but I think it's going to be 0-0 snooze fest. Won't be watching. I'd rather watch Coronation Street Omnibus or something.
Well, yeah, I was going to say there's no curry at the weekend, but Jesus, you saved it with the
Got
omnibus
the
at the end.
Yeah,
you got the omnibus in. Do you remember that?
Series record.
I presume that's still going on ITV4 or something. Sean, are the lads right here? Like it's hard to get too excited about this game, albeit it's actually a massive game, probably one of the most important ones of the weekend. Like.
No, yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I think West Brom have been a lot better in the last few weeks. I watched the Burnley game, thought they were very good, especially after the red card, and Burnley could have had a penalty, but West Brom should have scored. And I think this new guy, Dean, up front, he looks a real handful, looks a proper striker, someone that, the fans would kind of love. West Brom should have beaten United as well. So I definitely think West Brom have improved. And I think Steve Bruce will be extremely worried about this game. This is a game where Big Sam has, built relegation survival on, and I know I gotta have to fancy West Brom again. I think they're playing really well at the moment. Be interesting to see what they do with Semi Ajayi. Does he come back in at centre half? Because they've been unlucky with injuries and suspension. But Darragh O'Shea obviously came in after the red card and has done quite well in the 150 minutes or whatever he's played. Kyle Bartley scored, was very good. So Big Sam's decisions to make, but I definitely would fancy West Brom. I think it's like I said, it's a game where Big Sam will relish, and Steve Bruce will know how difficult the game it will, and maybe that's something that will help Newcastle, but they're missing St. Maximin, they're missing Almiron, they're missing Wilson, so they're really up against it at the moment. And I go West Brom.
Very interesting now. So we've kind of had a lot of games where, I suppose, aside from Arsenal, we haven't had massive clubs. We've got Liverpool at home to Fulham here, Shane. I'd say you're kind of like,
two massive clubs.
Yeah, two massive clubs.
Shout out Connor Daly.
Tackling Sports Zone, very own and friend of the show, Connor Daly. Absolutely, there's his Connor shout out. Liverpool, though, on the other hand, you must be kind of reveling in the fact that they've kind of fallen to pieces. I know there's like circumstances there, but geez, no one could have seen this coming. Like United's small bit of rise and Liverpool's decline.
Yeah, circumstances. There were circumstances when they won the league, but they weren't having any of that. And now there's loads of circumstances now. They've got an injury list that's very long, but so do the likes of Leicester and many other teams, and they just get on with it. But nah, the Liverpool fans always chirping away. So the world versus Liverpool. But yeah, they got the result against Sheffield last week. Fulham should have beaten Palace. Palace, they just Gary Cahill just throwing himself at everything. Josh Maja had a couple of good chances against Palace. Fulham really should have won. But in saying that, I could see Fulham getting a positive result here. Liverpool, they did all right against Sheffield United. Just did enough. But Fulham fighting for their lives down there. Anfield has been a bit of a shaky place as well for Liverpool in the past few weeks. So I think Fulham can get a draw here, and I'm going to go for 1-1.
1-1, very, very interesting. Stephen, you must be kind of reveling in the fact that also you kind of took a lot of it on the chin there last year in terms of the amount of abuse United were getting. And I know a lot of Liverpool fans will be happy listening to this kind of coverage, considering we have two Manchester United fans. But you must be kind of pleased how the Liverpool's kind of fortunes have taken a sharp turn for the worse.
Yeah, like I want to pull you up on your nonsensical argument of saying, oh, they have situations. Every team has injuries, and like I know it's Virgil van Dijk, but you don't base your team around one player. Come on, like they did when they won the league, it wasn't based around Virgil van Dijk. It was based around and it's not that they're conceding too many goals; they're not scoring any goals. So it's Salah, it's Firmino, it's Mane, and they've all gone off the boil. So look, it's obviously difficult for them, but it's great for United and all of us to be sitting at the top of our perch for a little while and just looking down on the Scousers. But yeah, look, I think they got back on the cart last weekend. I think they're going to struggle against Chelsea tonight, or is that tomorrow night? And I think they should get a result against Fulham at Anfield. I don't think it'll be convincing. I think it'll be a struggle for them. I think Fulham aren't a bad team. And actually, Josh Maja, is that the lad of Sunderland Till I Die for him?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Great time for that. I went all in on him on Sunderland Till I Die, and I saw him pop up on the TV last week. I was like, no way. It's huge.
I tell you got some shots, did you?
Yeah, because did he go to France when he was from Sunderland? Or
Bordeaux, yeah.
Bordeaux, yeah. What a guy, huge. In the big time now. So yeah, I got to go Liverpool 2-0. I think Fulham will hold on till about 60 minutes and then we get 2 goals.
Yeah, Sean, quick word here. Like we've talked about Scott Parker targeting games. This is definitely a game he probably won't be targeting, but would you give them a chance here of maybe sneaking something? Or
Yeah, they were brilliant at Craven Cottage in the reverse fixture. But I think Liverpool obviously have a big game tomorrow at the time of recording. And I think with everything, they've kind of got something back. I know Fabinho, Jota back in training. But yeah, you have to fancy Liverpool here again. But Fulham have been a lot better. And again, that a point here could be massive in survival.
Yeah, so lads, you've been well able to give Liverpool abuse here. So we're going to spend a bit of time on Manchester City versus Manchester United. Who will I go for? I'll go with Stephen. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Tell us how you feel about him, because you've had some roller coaster emotions. I'm sure you've told me Ole out before in WhatsApp messages, which I won't dig out, and Ole in and all that jazz. Where are you right now in terms of like he's done a good job, I guess, but
I think I'm on the Ollie out bandwagon again for another few weeks.
Wow.
I know that's too
yours.
rash. That's too rash. I was actually listening to Luke Shaw. I think he was on one of these FIFA videos on YouTube during the week. I don't know if it was Sky Sports that did it or if it was somebody else, but it was FIFA 21 powered, and he was saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is probably the manager he's learned the most from in his time at United, that he didn't learn as much from Van Gaal or Mourinho. Well, I wasn't expecting to say Mourinho based on the relationship they had there, which I thought was interesting. Now, I know he's obviously going to say that when Ole's his manager, but just some of the detail he went into, I thought was interesting. Look, Ole's improved the team. Ole's got better players in the team. I still think that he's not the manager to take us all the way. I think he will get more improvement next year if he's there next year. I think we were right, despite all the calls to get rid of Ole, to stick with him. I'm not sure who else is there to replace him. And at the end of the day, he is learning on the job. Like, experience at Molde isn't going to stand for a huge amount. When you get to the bright lights of the Premier League and the callous nature of the media and the expectation of the fans and the impatience of the fans. So, look, he's learning on the job. Let's see where we are at the end of the year. If he can hold on to second, that's a massive improvement. The points total is a lot higher. But if you're to take Bruno out of that team, if that happens to Bruno, we're in a serious problem. I also want to point out, like, Pogba gets a lot of hate. I think it's only now we're realising the value that Pogba brings to the team, that this bad run of form really coincided with Pogba's injury. So I think Pogba is a massive part of our team and adds a huge amount. And I don't think he gets the credit for it. The match at the weekend, I think you could just say 0-0 next question. But like, I don't know. I think Ole needs a goal. Ole's going to have to. But like, Cavani's fit to play tonight. Are the teams out? Yeah. Cavani's fit to play tonight. I would not be surprised not to see Cavani play tonight. Unless you only get game to his legs. I think Cavani will start at the weekend for sure in order to get a goal, because he can't go this 7 games against the big 6 without a goal. I think he needs to go for the game. Don't see them winning in the Etihad, but I see them nicking a goal and it being a bit more exciting than it was in Old Trafford. I think if Ole can afford to go for it with Leicester's form kind of not brilliant, the injuries that they have, and we discussed earlier, it might give them some daylight. Now, Chelsea are coming back, their form is good, so that might be another challenge coming at them. And West Ham and Everton, I feel, probably will falter at some stage. So he just needs to keep the gap between Leicester and Chelsea, keep them at arm's length, and he could probably afford to go for tomorrow, Sunday. So I'm going to say 3-1 City, but I'm going to say a good game.
So yeah, Shane, would you kind of concur with that? The teams are out, as you mentioned, they're managing. It's going to be managing Fred in the middle there. Cavani's back, and so he's starting tonight, Shane. So yeah. So how do you see this game going?
Yeah, as Stephen said, we badly need a goal. After we lost 6-1 to Spurs, it's like when we come up against one of the bigger sides, it's almost as if Ollie's just making sure we don't lose, which isn't really sort of going to get us where we want to be. It sort of comes down to a lack of ruthlessness that may perhaps Ollie and the team is showing. Like, you have to be bold, you have to be brave against these big teams. Like, if we go back to Liverpool when it was 0-0, and some people were saying it's a good result, some people were saying Liverpool were there for the taking. You can only see just from, since we've played them, Liverpool's form at home, they've lost a few games to much lesser opposition than Man United. So it just shows that Liverpool were there to be beaten on the day. I think Chelsea were there to be beaten last week. Chelsea didn't really offer too much. They kept the ball well, but they never looked too dangerous, bar 1 or 2 crosses. And then it sort of came down to, could United find a piece of quality to score, which we just didn't. Cavani is definitely a massive plus, having him back. But yeah, just looking, I suppose, at Solskjaer, it's a tough one. Like, I wouldn't say Solskjaer out, but do I fully believe he's the man to bring back the glory days? I'm not convinced at the moment, but you do sort of wish him the best. But like even playing against Chelsea, Fred the Red took a shot on his weak foot. It almost went into the top corner. Fred started laughing. Ollie started laughing. And like sometimes we go out, we get beaten, and in the post match interview, Ollie's almost laughing, like he's smiling. He just doesn't come across as the sort of character who's going to go in like Ferguson did, and absolutely kick up a storm in the dressing room, and start going mad at the players. He looks like he's more of the type that is going to put the arm around the shoulder. When some players like Tony Marshall, he needs a kick up the backside. Like he comes on and it's like he's insulted that he's been asked to play. He wanted to be number 9. He got the 9 shirt, and he'd be better off going for a walk on Dunieri Pier. I think he's just not interested. Anyway, rant over. Let's go back to a prediction. I'd love to see United go out and hit them on the counter attack the way we would, or the way we used to at the Etihad. But City now, they're 21 games in a row to win. It's hard to fancy that United will beat them. I'm gonna go for a 1-0 City win, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it.
Well, just last point on the Ollie before I bring Sean in. Would you have Mikel Arteta or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as manager, lads, if you had the choice?
That's a stupid question. Ollie.
Look, Ollie, and I want to pull up something there. Like we keep talking about United's record against the Big Six, and the Big Six, and we're talking about here Spurs and Arsenal. Spurs are 10th to the table, and Arsenal are 12th to the table. If we're talking about the Big Six, if you're looking at Leicester, West Ham, and Everton now, and get rid of this Arsenal out of the we're a Big Six club. No, lads, move on. Like it's been a long time since you were in the top 6.
We're in the top half, believe it or not. We're 10th. Sean, same question to you, I guess. Obviously, you're going as an Arsenal fan. For those that don't know, would that be comparable at the moment? Ollie's probably achieved more. Well, he has achieved more, obviously, but in terms of long-term projects, there's a kind of thing that Arteta will long-term be successful at Arsenal, and Ollie won't. Is that fair?
I don't know. Yeah, I was kind of having this debate with my mates earlier. I think there's something about United this year where they are the best of a bad bunch in terms of their second this year. But it's a poor league. Obviously, it's difficult because there's no fans. Football's nowhere near what it is. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes being a massive plus for them. But Jose Mourinho finished second with the group of United players, and he said it was his greatest achievement in football. And I think it's one of those where is it a massive achievement for United? Is it massive progress then finishing second? Only time will tell. Only next year we'll know. But I think if Ollie doesn't win a trophy this year and they finish in the top 4, I mean last year they finished top 4 and they finished third, I think, and they got knocked out in the group stages of the Champions League. So I mean, so what's the point? What's the point in making the top 4? So I think it's one of the Ollie, and they've spent a lot of money. Manchester United, 50 million on Fernandes, obviously unbelievable business. Maguire, 80 odd million, Wan-Bissaka. So they've spent a bit of money, Manchester United, and I'm sure they want to see a return from Ollie. I think he's doing a good job, don't get me wrong, but I think he's starting to get now where how many managers get 2.5 years at a football club and don't have any success. I think at the moment it's Manchester United are probably in that stage where they aren't what they were in terms of even 4 or 5 years ago. So they have to try and get close to Chelsea have this identity where they can sack managers, but they'll always be in and around the top 4, the top 6. If they drop out, it doesn't matter. They can bring in a manager because they're so trigger happy. I don't think Manchester United are that club, but they are in a position where the longer that they don't get a trophy, the harder it will be to win a big one. And I think that's a huge issue for Ollie going forward.
What do you reckon about that, lads, in terms of, is a trophy vital this season for Ole Gunnar? Open the floor to Edius.
Yeah, I think everything that Sean is talking about is it hits the nail on the head. Like, we have to remember that we did finish second under Jose as well. So like it's not about the position. I think it has to be the points total, the performances, everything alongside it. I don't think we were ever going to win the league this year, but I think we have been the second best team in the league. I think for large points of the league prior to Christmas, we looked like the best team in the league before City went on this unbelievable run of form. And I think there's foundations for a big challenge next year, but it's dependent on getting a good centre back and a good defensive midfielder. And whether we need a trophy, I think it's a test for Ollie, because it's this semi-final issue that he has, and he needs to get over it. And yeah, I think if we were to get to June and we're second, no trophies, I think there would be quite a bit of apathy towards United. Now we'll go into another transfer window all excited and be depressingly disappointed again, but it's probably would be a massive disappointment if we didn't win a trophy, whether it be Europa League or FA Cup.
The summer before Jose got sacked, he wasn't backed with two centre halves. He was adamant on getting centre halves. It was the big talking point of that summer after they'd given them the contract. So it was a bizarre summer for Manchester United. But Ollie has been backed in a few of the signings have obviously worked. Wan-Bissaka, Fernandes, jury's out Maguire. But like I said, next year is a huge year for Ollie. I mean, the end of this year, the next 18 months, they have to win something. They have to sustain this, because Liverpool won't be as bad next year. You'd imagine Chelsea would be further down the road with Havertz, Tuchel at the helm. No one knows where Arsenal are going to be. No one knows where Tottenham are going to be. Leicester, but it's not. The league isn't going to be as bad as it is this year. And I think Manchester United have done well with second, but they need to push on now if they are to get back to being a side who wins a title. Because what is it? It's nearly 7-8 years since their last title. Arsenal is 16 years. It's very easy for that cycle to go. Liverpool 30 years, and now Manchester United had 26 years before where they didn't win a title. Very easy when you're not at the top competing year on year and having that experience of winning a Champions League or winning a Europa League or winning something, that you can't go from nothing to winning a league. It's a freak. It's a Leicester. It's that Chelsea side that won it with Conte when they were 10th after how many games. Now they won it because they had so many unbelievable players. You have Gary Cahill who'd won leagues there before. You John Terry, it was in Chelsea that they had won leagues before. I just think this United side, there's no real. Barcavani, probably the one who's been travelled the most and has won the most out of that squad. Obviously, De Gea won a league in his last year and stuff, but I think I think United fans think they're further down the road than I think they actually are, and I think obviously next year will be huge.
Yeah, I agree there. I agree with what the lads were saying. Definitely sort of need to win a trophy this year, just to sort of build that sort of winning mentality into the squad. But I think like the next transfer window is huge. But what they really need is a massive marquee signing. The one that I would love to see, I know it's probably massively ambitious, but is Haaland from Dortmund. I mean, if they were willing to spend 80 to 100 million on Sancho, they should be just scrapping those plans and just asking how much do Dortmund want, and just even if they have to sell a few players, just get him in, because he's young, he doesn't have any sort of injuries or known injuries, and he's just a machine, and he's the sort of player that could be scoring goals for United for the next 10 years, whether and at the end of his career, if they bought him for 120 130 million, I'd say that could look pretty cheap, considering the return on investment you get. Whether United and Ollie could persuade a player of that talent to come to Old Trafford remains to be seen, but that's my take. I think they need a massive marquee signing in the summer.
Yeah, final word on that, Sean. I guess Haaland obviously would be an amazing signing. Is that doable for Manchester United? Because we were speaking about the lack of number 9s, and I guess Shane's right. Sometimes the answer is as simple as a Haaland.
I think they will go for it because at the moment I think Dortmund are fifth or sixth in the Bundesliga. They haven't been great, and those top players need to be playing. The Champions League need to be playing at the highest level. You also have the link with Haaland being born in England. Kind of knows what it's like, and you'd imagine he's going to play there at some stage. So you want to be the club that has him. I think he's going to be one of these players that could play, in 3 or 4 different countries. I think the Ronaldo model of that. I think those kind of players are going to take. I think he'd be obviously brilliant. Look, you don't know what he's going to do in the Premier League, but I think
He
if there
played
is a
for
club,
Ollie. He played for Ollie at Molde as well, actually.
yeah, and he's Norwegian, which I think is obviously a big thing. And I think if there's any club, I'm not sure if City would spend that much on one particular player, Haaland. But I think United.
Geez, yeah, we've just lost Sean there, Stephen. So before he comes back, you're making a couple of points on Haaland, or you wanted to come in just very briefly?
No, I was actually just saying he was saying that Ollie might have a chance to sign him. They might go for him. I think there was a connection there. I believe there was a private meeting before he went to Dortmund of Ollie tried to sign him, and there was issues around agent fees. I think his agent is
Pogba's agent.
Yeah, Pogba's agent, Riola, which is a massive red flag in my opinion. Haaland could be a club if he holds on to Riola. He could be a player who jumps from club to club to club, just looking for big checks. I think certain clubs should stop doing business with Riola. That's my own personal opinion. But hopefully, Ollie's relationship with Haaland is good enough to bring him to United. Hopefully, we've done enough in the past year to have changed his mind. There was obviously good conversation that happened there, and it was just the agent's fees that broke it down. So. Look, it's a possibility. I think they should just, like Shane and Sean have just said, just jump and go for it, and see if like Greenwood's looking good enough that he can hold up that right side. Do we need Sancho? Like if you're going to buy Sancho, go and try Haaland. And I'm sure they have a list of options, and Sancho could be on that list of options if Haaland doesn't come to fruition. But yeah, I don't know if City are going to spend that money on a Haaland type player, and you'd have to wonder, is Messi still on the cards there for Barca, or not for Barca, for City and the City group? Like he said, he wants to go to the US at some point when he finishes his career. He said that openly, so it might be a stepping stone to go to City and then on to New York. So if they go the City route, they definitely won't be going near Haaland. So yeah.
Yeah, Sean, final point there very briefly, just before you got cut off, and we'll move on.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I think the United should be going for Haaland. I'm not sure if he would go. Obviously, he probably fancies another couple of years in Dortmund, although they need Champions League football to get that, so that'd be interesting to watch till the end of the season. I don't think they should be going for a Jadon Sancho, considering what Rashford has and Greenwood has, and Martial, obviously, if they move him on. But you'll end up stunting someone's growth there, whether it be Rashford, Sancho, or Greenwood, by having all three at the same time. I think you wouldn't be getting the best out of everyone week on week. But yeah, obviously this can be a big game for Ollie, because I think if United are further down the road than we think, then they'll go to win the game. And even in the last couple of interviews, Amanda Madic gave one to Sky where he was saying, look, we want to get closer to City. I think the time for talking's done. I think we need to see a big performance from Bruno Fernandes. If he is to be a PFA Player of the Year or whatever. But Pep will know what's coming. He was very clever in the game at Old Trafford. They took the draw and they were happy with that, and I'm sure they do the same here.
Yeah, no, obviously taking the draw at the time was kind of frowned upon by City fans, etc. But that's definitely looked like a good bit of deal there on their part. So we'll move on to Spurs versus Palace. We'll go to you, Shane. You gave Palace a bit of a hard time there. Well, you gave Kerry Cahill a bit of a shout out. But how do you see a game like this going? Spurs, with Bale, Son, Bale back in form.
Yeah, Bale looking pretty sharp. In fairness, he must be getting excited that the golf courses are opening up in the UK on the 29th of March. I don't know why he's playing so well. He's going to play every week now. But yeah, no, Palace just keep grinding out results. But Palace are due to be beaten by a healthy scoreline pretty soon, and you'd fancy Spurs to hammer them, really, especially with the likes of like Kane, Son, and Bale. Jose's got all three of them finally playing in the team together. And then, as well as that, like you just don't see where the Palace goals are going to come from. Gary Cahill can only block so many shots. I think last week I predicted that Jose and Spurs would really struggle at home to Burnley, but I was well and truly very wrong there. But I'm going to jump back on the Jose bandwagon, and I fancy Spurs to beat Palace 4-0. Yeah, we'll put Kane, Son, and Bale, and we'll give Lamela a goal as well.
Wow, Lamela, wow.
Yeah, off the bench.
You've got Spurs wrong a few times. I think you just can't figure them out. Stephen Jose bandwagon sounds a bit like you now, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm all in on Jose, giving it to Biggin. He's yeah, I think as Shane said, he's got Bale in the team, he's got Kane, so he's got Bale playing in the team and playing well, contributing, which is a massive plus. Son's probably been a little bit off form, looked to be a little bit better last weekend against Burnley. But yeah, the Palace are poor. I like, and I think Zaha still injured. He's out for the weekend.
As far as I know, he is.
Yeah,
massive.
They're really struggling. It's a massive loss. Like without Zaha, we're going to struggle for goals. So it's going to be. I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs, and I think Bale's going to net another one. And I know that he'll have another cool celebration sorted, and that's what I'll be watching out for. The theatrics.
Yeah, Sean, what's your take on Gareth Bale and in his resurgence? Is his resurgence almost a big, fault on Jose that he couldn't have got that out of him, 3 months ago when they probably needed it? Just mute your mic there, Sean. Sorry.
I think it's similar to Pogba at United with Jose, where they bought him and they brought him in, and Jose kind of beat it around the bush with him. Wasn't sure what Pogba initially, kind of dropped him, and then obviously he was instrumental, Pogba, in that late run I think they had where they won the cup and the Europa League under Jose Mourinho. And I think it's similar with Bale. I think he just, I don't know, I think he gets a kick out of Mourinho. Obviously thinks it's important for the dressing room. And obviously Bale is a fantastic footballer, and sometimes you forget how good he was. I mean, for those couple of years that he won PFA Player of the Year, I mean, he was untouchable in the Premier League, and there was shades of that over the weekend. But I think the big tests come when you play against a good side, and not ones that give you time and space. And honestly, if Crystal Palace, and I harp back to it, but if Crystal Palace play like they did against Liverpool before Christmas, it could be 15 now, because you can't give that much space to Kane or Bale to get a shot off. No, I'm being fairly serious.
I believe
Burnley gave Tottenham loads of space, and they just sat too far back. There was not enough pressure on the ball, and the defenders were too scared to come out of any sort of their shape, because of obviously Bale and Son in behind them. But like, I'd be really worried for Roy Hodgson, because Crystal Palace fans want him gone. A lot of them do anyway. The majority of them do. The club are sticking by him, you'd imagine, till his contract's out. But this could get nasty. It's one of them. Palace could win 2-1, and everyone would go, Roy Hodgson's a genius. But I would fear for a 4-5-6-0 game here.
Time to get on Spurs for the handicap, lads. I think this weekend. Chelsea, Everton. Stephen, we'll go to you. I'd be interested in your take very briefly on Frank Lampard. Were you a Frank fan, or I
think I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I think Frank got too much credit. Like, I think he was the English bandwagon manager that everyone just jumped on. So, like, it's not that I wasn't a fan of Frank, but I just think he was overhyped. He didn't have a huge amount of background. He didn't have a huge amount of experience. He did grand, but going into a club like Chelsea, you kind of know what you're getting. If you don't do magical things straight away, you're going to be sacked. You're going to find somebody else, and there's going to be a quick transition, and it'll be the exact same for the next person. So, look, I didn't have a huge amount of sympathy for Frank. Thought he did okay. Thought he has a future, and I think he has a future in the game. Yeah, maybe it was a bad call for him jumping straight into the Chelsea job if that was his dream job. Now maybe he'll get a second chance of it further down the line. Who knows? No, I think Thomas Tuchel coming in was very pragmatic by Chelsea. I think he's going to be a very successful manager for Chelsea. I don't know whether he'll bring titles, but I think he's going to bring a nice brand of football that the Chelsea fans will like. and I think there could be some success coming Chelsea's way, which kills me a little bit to say. I'm not sure they're fully there yet. They're still finding their feet with them. They struggled to get chances against United. I watched that game myself, and I think he seriously struggled. Not he, the Chelsea team seriously struggled as much as United did to find the goal. I think Everton could be a tough challenge for them. Everton are playing well. Don Carlo has him going nicely. I think Everton have the potential to do something special this year, but a game like this weekend will really signify their intentions. They've gone well. They've kind of got rid of that whole home record blemish over the weekend, and if they could just make that next step, and like a draw would nearly suit Everton this weekend. If they could just hold Chelsea in the bridge, it would be a great result for Everton and would help them push on. Are Everton ahead of Chelsea at the minute? I think they've got a game in hand, and that's tomorrow.
Yeah, they're 1 point behind, so with a game in hand at the moment. So they're Everton are 7th, Chelsea are 5th.
Like if Everton were to get a result tomorrow night, a draw would suit them at the weekend to stay above Chelsea going into the final 10 games, and I think that'd be a great position for them to be in. I think Chelsea might have a little bit too much quality. Like Callum Hudson-Odoi has really suited that right wing back role. Kind of, if it is a right wing back role that he's playing, I think they could get something from him. Ziyech and Werner's pace, whether they play Giroud or Tammy Abraham, I don't know. But I'm going to go Chelsea 2-1. I'd like to say Everton get a draw at 1-1. Well, I think there's going to be too much quality in Chelsea. It'd be a great result for the league if Everton could snatch a draw or a win. It would keep it really hot for the Champions League spaces. But I'm going to go Chelsea 2-1, and I think Giroud will start and get a goal and keep his record going.
Wow, shame.
That hurts you a bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I have this one down as a draw. I think Everton under Ancelotti, they're winning games where maybe last season they draw or they might even lose. But they're quite good at least getting something out of the game. Chelsea, I think Chelsea are still trying to find themselves under Tuchel. Like he doesn't seem to know his best team. He seems to have a real problem with getting Pulisic in the team. Like Pulisic was Chelsea's best player last year, and Kante only came into the team last week, starting into the team last week. And then like Giroud, Abraham, Werner, it's all very chop and change. There doesn't seem to be. He doesn't seem to know his best team as of yet. I'm sure by the start of next season he'll be able to put out a pretty consistent 11. But in saying that, I think Everton they're going really well. Charlison's in good form. Calvin-Lewin as well. They were able to rest a couple of key players against Southampton, so I imagine they'll come back in. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw here.
1-1 draw. Sean, quick word on this.
Yeah, that's a tough game to call. I think it's probably one of the harder ones of the weekend. I think Everton will probably score. They have the capability of scoring. Interesting to see how Tuchel sets up again, because he'll need a win. He'll want to win as well in the league to kind of kickstart them. I know they beat Atletico, but I think they kind of need a kind of a marquee win in the Premier League. I thought, to be honest, it would come last weekend, but they're very timid. So yeah, I think I'll go with the Chelsea. Both teams to score, Chelsea to win.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. We'll move on to the last game, lads, and we'll go to you, Shane, and stick with you there for West Ham United versus Leeds United, Monday Night Football, 8 o'clock. How do you see it going?
West Ham all the way. Leeds are just so frustrating. They're just not consistent. Like, you predict them to win one week and they win, then you're like, yeah, they'll go on and they'll kick on, and then they'll lose 2 games in a row. So I'm giving up on Leeds this week. Of course, West Ham, the Messiah.
Nafland, Shane mentions the Messiah,
secret agent.
and Jay Links.
I wouldn't be surprised if it came down to this game and West Ham win and I get the correct results, because West Ham with the two lads, with Moisey Boy at the wheel and Jay Lings and Antonio as well, and big Tommy Soucek. I'd say I'd fancy them to win. I'd fancy them to win here, and I'm going to go for 3-1. And I'd go for first goal scorer Jay Lings. So I might actually do a scorecast, and 3-1 Jay Lings. Might get about 50, 66 to 1. I'd say you might get on it. Maybe 50s.
Yeah.
Worth
well,
the
no,
tenner.
the bookies they'll run scared.
Yeah. So yeah, 3-1 for me.
And you got your maroon there as well, West Ham fanboy.
Yeah. I think they're quickly becoming my unofficial second team, but only whisper that.
Yeah,
best
definitely.
team in London.
Best team in London. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we
Best
got there
manager
before
anyway.
you did. All right, we'll move on. Stephen, on.
Yeah, Jay Lings, Hesse Lingard, and Moisey Boy. And I like big Tommy Soucek, as Shane says, kick it into Tommy.
Yeah, put it into him, lads.
Kick it into Tommy. Yeah, look, I've had Soucek in my fantasy team since the start of the year, and he hasn't moved, and he will not be moving. Yeah, I think West Ham are going to win. I think Leeds are too unpredictable. I think it'll be a goal fest, though. I'm going to go 3-2. And I think Hesse Lingard to nick one to start. I think it'll be a good scorecast for Shane. And go for it. Hop on. You get some value there. But yeah, I think it's great to see Jesse Lingard and Moisey do well from United fans, because they weren't great for us and everyone wanted rid of them. So it's nice that they got a second redemption of it.
Oh, you lads never stop going on about West Ham United these days. Jesse Lingard, David Moisey Boy. I'm actually sick of listening to it, to be honest with you. Secret agents. I'm going to mute your two mics in a second. I'm going to talk to Sean about Leeds. Sean, when I see Leeds lose, I'm like, geez, you're spot on about them. And then when I see them win, I'm like, geez, you haven't a clue. So they're that sort of team, really, aren't they? Like,
yeah, and I think that's probably why they struggle to get out of the championship at times, because they are the championship's a league where it can make you the best team in the world. I mean, you can go on a run like Mick McCarthy is, where you win 6 or 7 games in a row and the league is easy, or you can go on a run like Bristol City did before Nigel Pearson took over and lose 5 or 6 games in a row. It's one of them leagues, and it's kind of a Leeds league. Look, they're really, like, the Villa game was again just a typical Leeds loss. They play very well, and they just couldn't get it done. I think obviously this game was massive for West Ham. This was a big win earlier on in the season, where they scored, I think, from a free kick, and they won. I think Leeds probably was suit playing away from home again. Nice pitch. I know they struggled on the Allen Road pitch. Nice pitch at the London Stadium. West Ham would take a draw. I'd say David Moyes would take a draw. Just keep that kind of run going. But I fancy Leeds to get some. And I'm not sure if there will be an awful amount of goals from the West Ham side. They definitely are better at counter-attacking now that they have got Lingard. Obviously Jarrett Bowen. Benrahma hasn't really shined like I thought he would, considering how good he was, especially pre-lockdown for Brentford. He's probably the best player in the championship, and just, you think where him and Watkins are and where Watkins is now compared to Benrahma. But I think a draw. I think, a 1-1, maybe a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, that was brilliant. We're actually gone over the hour there. We got ranting about United, but it was good chatting nonetheless. Prediction minute time. So predict the minute of the first goal out of the 10 games. And Shane, we'll go to you. This is for the tiebreaker, lads, just in case we need it. As we mentioned, it could be a close one this week. Shane?
I'll go for the 3rd minute.
3rd minute. You mix it up every week as well. Stephen?
That's why I'm here every week.
Yes, sure, yeah. Stephen, we'll go to you for, I think it's just on mute there, but we'll go for you for the minute first of the first goal. Still on mute, Stephen. It's like when you're Zoom meetings with Dave. Or Teams.
I think it'll be the 11th minute. I think it'll be the Spurs game. I think
11th. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Can I just say, Dan?
Go on.
Sheffield United have won. They have beaten Derby County.
This is live. Wow.
Wow.
I've
this
been
is a big
following the
moment for
last
Tackling
few minutes.
Sport.
Phil Jagielka got sent off, which was a very harsh red card. Last man back kind of tackle, but I don't know. It wasn't really a red card. But no, they've beaten the record. Sheffield United. Super Chrissy Wilder, one of the best press conference games in the business, and a big 3 points and a clean sheet, a rare clean sheet. So that's massive for Sheffield United. 14 points, and let's not forget they stopped Manchester United supposedly winning the league, by beating them at Old Trafford. So brilliant team in the league, and delighted for Chris Wilder.
Can they stay up, Sean? Very quickly, look at the table there. We're 12 points now. 12 points.
Oh well, look. They've got a massive game against Southampton.
Southampton,
now. I mean, they are dragged in there if you're looking at it. Burnley aren't gone out of the water, although a good point tonight at Leicester against Leicester. But no, delight for Sheffield United, I must say. Is that it's? I think people have been very harsh on the season. I don't think they're as bad as what they are. And obviously, when you lose, I mean, they've had some horrendous injuries and red card luck, so missing penalties. Fair play to them.
And quick word, I wanted to get the lads' predictions for Palace United because this is obviously out Thursday morning. So anyone watching this already knows the results. So Stephen and Shane, your predictions for Crystal Palace and Manchester United 2015 on Wednesday. Yeah, we're Wednesday. So go on.
Go on, Stephen. You go.
Is Dino starting in goals?
Yes.
I think he is, yeah.
I just seen the screens on here in front of me. I'm going to go 2-0 United. And I think Cavani will get one. Nice head in the front post.
5, Dan. 5-0 United.
He's gone all in.
That is the content I wanted.
No doubt Roy Hodgson will turn up with a bloody 1-0 win, Patterson. No, 5-0. 5-0. Fred the Red to score as well.
Nil all.
Yeah, I'm going 1-0 Palace, and I'll be clipping all this. So, and again, I control all that. So that'll be going out to advertise the show when United drop points there tonight. But we're looking forward to that game. Thanks very much for listening. At Tackling Sports social media. At the bottom, that's been going on for an hour, is the live chat and preview next Tuesday. Live, we'll be back with a day 3 preview on Monday, and we might possibly do the day 4 preview on Thursday. So it's Cheltenham kind of centric at the moment, and there's a lot of football on, which is brilliant. But thanks to Sean, to Shane, and to Big Sam, as it says on my screen here.
Cheers, lads. Cheers, lads. Thanks.
And thanks to you for watching. And as I said, catch our episodes out on Monday on Cheltenham next week. So thank you.
Up the blades.